instrument we call a thermometer, or we compare between two things. You go to the store, you have a tomato, another tomato. You look at that, you touch sometimes, you should not, but you touch it, and finally you see that one, you know. So we compare the qualities. No? We compare that with I do examination, you know. I compare the result. You know? So a relation now. We said that relation is partly intrinsic and partly extrinsic in the substance. So the relation with one's parent, with friends, a relation can be also a comparison. I can compare two persons. I can compare two objects. I can compare two weather. Today it was sunny. Today is better than yesterday because it was raining. So we compare. But when we compare, we make a relation. Relation. Okay. So what is a relation? It is a thing which is the bearing or reference of that which thing toward another thing. John is the son of Paul. So the reference, it is in John as son, but it is also in Paul as father. I explained that before. Okay? So the problem, what is about a thing that causes is to be related to another thing. In fact, what is the foundation of the relation? When you have a contract, you have a term and you have a subject and you have an object and you have a foundation for the relation. So what is the foundation for the relation? What is the title? That is very important. For example, we have a man with a woman. The foundation can be the marriage. It can be preparation to marriage. It can be also adultery. It can be brother and sister. You know? So what is the foundation? Making that relation between two realities. So we have two basic attributes in relation. We have the basic quantity, the foundation based on quantity. That is heavier. 1, 2, 3. It has more numerous, less numerous, equal, unequal, etc. And the second is the relation based on action and passion. That means when there is an action, there must be somebody putting the cause in relation with the effect. So that we have, for example, we have the father and son, the relation, action, master and slave. We have employer, boss to employee, leader, etc. In fact, if you look in English, most of the time the word ending by er are the foundation of the relation. Mother, father, builder, baker. Many, many times in English we use the word followed by er. Okay? So you have a page after that on relation. I think it's worth it to explain that rapidly. You have four kinds of relation. We have the relation we call predicamental. It is the relation we are studying now. The relation in the categories. John is the father of Paul. So fatherhood, filiation, etc. Okay? There is a contingent relation. The relation is contingent. For example, it is contingent that you are the father of a son and the son is... You can be yourself without being a father. Before having a child, you will be I. After having a child, you continue to be I. Your substance is the same. But you have something new. You have a new relation. But the fact you are father is not essential to you. It is not in your substance. It's not the case for God in the Holy Trinity. But for us, to be a son, for me, is not essential. My essence is not to exist as a son. But I am the son of Antonio Legault, my father. You know? But it is not my I. But it is attached to my I as an accident. It does not enter in my substance. but it is my substance is attached to that relation, you know, that it is predicamental. Now you go to transcendental, because they go together. Transcendental. Transcendental, it is a relation which is necessary. Here it is contingent, here it is necessary. Now here I give you 3 examples. The first is the relation between creation and God, creature and God. That relation is, we cannot exist without God, you know, transcendental. We cannot think a creature without a necessary to the Creator. It is impossible. I cannot think the existence of creature without, or contingent without the existence of God. And that is the foundation of the proof of the existence of God we study probably in April. Think about the mathematics. In mathematics, the triangle there is a relation, necessary relation between 3 side triangle. And when you study metaphysics, we will study also the transcendental being. And we see that being is one, that being is true, that being is good. And good, true, and one are the transcendental. That means that we cannot have being without having one, true and good. Well, I don't explain that for the moment, but that's the word transcendental. It is not contingent, it is absolutely necessary. Now we have another division. We have a real relation and logical relation. Well, a real relation, a relation of one real thing to another, really distinct from it. For example, the relation between myself and my father, Antonio, that is a real relation. It's not in my mind. The relation between the teacher and his student, it is a real relation. Okay? A relation existing independently of my mind. It's not a creation of my mind. Okay? But in fact, the relation is a kind of bridge between the two, between the father and between the son. Filiation to fatherhood is kind of bridge. In friendship, we have a relation. Joe and Paul, for example, they are friends. Well, they are friends because there is a bridge. There is a relation, something uniting them. If that something is real, otherwise there will be no friendship. That is a real relation. But we can have also a logical relation. A logical, that means it is only in my mind, if you want. They are not real. For example, the predicable, we'll study that next week. The subject, for example, John. John is a golfer. If the relation between John and golfer is a relation of accident, predicable accident, like in grammar, you have the subject, the predicate, that is purely logical. There's a relation in grammar. In logic, they are logical. Logic is clear. A concept is logic. This apple is sweet. Apple is subject. Sweet is predicate. And the relation between them, accidental relation, is purely in my mind. It's not in the reality. Second, it is the attribute of God. When you study the philosophy of God, you will study that the attributes of God are not different from His essence. And God is infinitely simple. So the distinction is purely logical distinction between justice and mercy. And finally, some are related for non-objective reason. Well, the classical example is the following. The relation between God and man. And man and God. Does God depend on man? So the relation God has with man is a pure logical relation. Totally independent. But the relation man has with God is absolutely necessary. It is transcendental. Okay? But we will come on that. Action and passion, so you have the mover and the move, both are correlative and they are extrinsic to the substance. They are not in the substance. Huh? So action is doing something, passion is not difficult. Huh? We speak here only about transient or transitive activities, operations. Because we have two kinds of operations. We have transitive operation. For example, I am talking, speaking, that is transitive. But you are thinking, you are assimilating, that is immanent. That means the fruit of your activity remains in you. You eat a steak, the cow remains in you, becomes you. It's immanent activity, and the car is glorified because she became a man. Intelligent. Huh? You understand that? I appreciate that. I am in the nirvana. Huh? If I kick a ball, I play baseball, that is transitive. You speak, you act, transitive activity. You assimilate, you study, that become yourself. Is a transit. It is an immanent activity. The result remains within you. So you have also intransitive activity. Both intransitive activity, in fact, they are immanent. You breathe, I breathe. I think, I grow, etc. I run. All that the benefit of those activities is in you. So we have activities which are passing to another, and we have activities which stay in ourselves. So when we speak about action, here we speak about transitive action. I kick the ball is kicked. Okay? Action, passion, and relation. And there's a link between them. There is a remark here. Immanent operation fall under the category quality. Indicate how a thing is or act. No, I don't insist on that. I go to the square. Action, riding. Passion is ridden, the horse, and the rider. Command is commandant, commander. You know, I told that to you. The one who does the action, or the one who creates the relation, is most of the time the word end by er, er, er. Okay? Baker, baking, bake, baker. Singing, song, singer. Okay? Undertaking, undertaken, undertaker. Don't write that. That will come very. Maybe some money.
You're on the camera.
Oh yes. Okay. Now the extrinsic accident. Il y a the where, the place, the space, the position, the situation of the part of my body, kneeling, standing, laying on the bed, etc. When, time, they are external measures. And finally, the possession. In fact, it is proper to man. Aristotle did not speak about that, but in the Middle Age, they added that characteristic accident we call possession. To wear a gun, to wear a shirt, to wear a clergy, etc. Because it is united to the subject, to the substance, but very, very far. Okay. Finally, a word about the rule of the categories. So I have just 5 minutes for that. First rule. Only simple realities can be placed in a given category. That means when we put things one by one, if a thing is double, I have to separate that. I have to place thing. If it is an animal, I put the box animal. If it is a chair, in the box chair. You know, one thing at a time, at one place. One thing at a time. And when we study a lot syllogism, and we see that. Because if we use many things at the same time, we are condemned to equivocal. The simple reality must be a whole, complete. The human foot, as a part of the body, is placed on the category substance. I told that to you. A member is considered as the substance. 3. The simple reality must be natural. An artificial thing, however, may be placed in some category because it imitates nature. In fact, it is by analogy. So we can say my car is red. I can say my car is like a substance, but in fact my car is not a substance. It's artificial. But by analogy, we can apply that, by analogy. Okay? The simple reality must be signified by a univocal word. Univocal word. Only the universal nature can be placed in this category. We don't place individual, we place only universal concept. So the categories are the ultimate kinds of predicates. They must be universal in their extension. And this cat is brown, but brown is not able to be applied to cat. So they are the 10 ultimate genera, and nothing is above. In fact, strictly speaking, we cannot define the categories. We cannot define being. They are the top, and above we cannot define. Okay? And finally, we have 4 minutes. The opposition following the categories. Well, I spoke about contrary between black and white. So we have to make the difference between contrary and contradictory. It is the opposition existing between the positive extreme of a subject of the genus. For example, water can be hot and can be cold. It can be all between. Okay, that is contrary. It is a mutual exclusion. But in the same genus, black and white. For example, you consider shirt black, shirt white. But we are in the, about shirt, you know, okay? Contrary. So it is true that neither contrary man may be present in such subject at the same time. Of course, a thing cannot be at the same time cold and hot at the same aspect, at the same time. Okay? But the opposition, and the opposition is the most important. It is contradictory opposition. Contradictory or contradiction. There is no middle. For example, black and non-black, white and non-white, cold and non-cold. If you say cold and warm, that is contrary. If you say cold and non-cold, that is contradiction. So we'll study that next in 2-3 weeks when we study the opposition of proposition. But it's good to know that now. There is only one choice between the two lone possibilities, the only possibility, true or false. And that is, I give you only an example, I have 1 minute, to prove the importance of that. You know, if you study Marxism, Marx bases his theory of revolution on contradiction. He is using Hegel. So Hegel, I say thesis, antithesis, synthesis. So we have that, we have another regime, and we have a third regime. But in fact, what Marx says, contradiction is the essence of things. In fact, what Marx says, what Hegel says, is not contradiction, it is contrary. Contrary, not contradiction. So that means contradiction is totally, it is, one cannot accept absolutely nothing in common with the other. So when we read the history of Marxism, for example, the way they interpret the history of the world, they call revolution, but a revolution is not an absolute difference before. The same people continue to live. Huh? It is a contrary opposition. So if contradiction is the mother of history, and in fact it's not contradiction, the other theory of Marx fall down. We did that in philosophy, sociality. Okay, so I admire your patience, your courage. Is your substance tired? Yes. So next week, I hope I will find again your substance.